Hello all, and welcome to tonight's beer review, which is a very special beer review because I'm going to be reviewing a beer that I'm very hyped to be trying today. I only noticed it last week, and to celebrate getting my first paycheck from my temp job, I decided to go and get a bottle of it. So, it's kind of on the expensive side, at about $6. It's pretty expensive even on the mainland. It's almost $6 on the mainland, and a little bit over $6 here. This is the original Ritterguts Gose from Germany, obviously. And let's see here, what brewery is this from? I looked it up. I didn't write it down. But it's made in Leipzig, so the former Eastern Bloc. So let's read the back, shall we? Enjoy the unique taste and distinctive freshness of our original Ritterguts Gose, which is still brewed in the traditional way. It has been a specialty of the city of Leipzig since 1783. Gose is a natural product, brewed with coriander and salt. As a traditional brewing process includes lactic fermentation as well as bottle conditioning. There is a possibility of yeast sedimentation in the bottle. We recommend gently shaking the bottle to mix the yeast before opening it. So, you know how I love this style, this somewhat obscure style. So this is obviously going to be in the much more subtle old world category Gose, as opposed to the near Berliner Weiss sours that most American craft beer makers sort of present the Gose style under. So this is the original stuff. It's one of the two breweries, I think, that makes, or two or three breweries that make the original stuff in Germany. I absolutely adore the bottle art here. It's, you know, an old man, stovepipe hat, smoking a cigar. Traditional Gose bottle right here. It's a very oddly shaped bottle that has a sort of plug formed by its own yeast. And the tall Stein-like glass, which unfortunately I don't have. I'm going to be using a Hefeweizen glass today, mainly because this bottle is a bit on the large side. And two, I kind of wanted to capture the smells a little bit better. So 4.2 ABV. Nobody really drinks Gose to go and get tanked. It's pretty much the opposite of what's popular in, you know, beer now in America, which is big flavors, high alcohol content, and, you know, kind of gimmicky things. You know, this is subtle flavor, very low alcohol content, and sticking to tradition even if tradition is weirder than being innovated. Salt and coriander. Can't beat that. Different. So, enough yammering. Let's go and pour this bad boy out. I've already rolled it around a little bit. Ooh! That definitely smells lactic. Let's go and swirl it, get that yeast out the bottom. Head is getting ready rather quick, so I'll do the head first before the color. Very lactic, nice tart lemony smells. Very mineral smells. You smell like wet stone there. And what I mean by lactic is that sort of fermented smell that you would smell in, well, not really yogurt. The best way I can say is from poi, but for most of you, you guys have no idea what 2 or 3 day old poi is like. It smells like fermentation, bacterial fermentation, good bacterial fermentation, though of a different sort than the kind you smell in milk. Interesting color. Of course, because of the live content, slightly cloudy there, so translucent. Yellow-orange, orange-yellow, maybe a tinge of red in there. Very thin, fast dissipating head, but that is because, of course, the salt content making those bubbles a little bit harder to hold up, as well as fairly low hop content. even though it doesn't have much of a head, still is pretty. Still has a pretty good bouquet to it. Wow, there's a whole lot of flavor there. Wow. This is going to take some time to unpack. First off, despite the 4.2 ABV, it doesn't seem extremely light on the palate. And that is probably because of the intensity, well, not, I shouldn't say the depth of all, not the intensity, because it's not like face-puckering sour, but there's a certain depth to all the tastes going on there. Up front, you get a bit of sweetness from the malts. And the malts are kind of subdued in that respect. You don't get much of them again until after the finish. You get a lot of that wheat funkiness in the finish. Very effervescent up in the nose, not on the tongue. Tartness. Lemony, fermented tartness in the mid to the finish. Intermixing with that sweet note on the tongue from the sugars of the malts. And a very savory aspect. You taste that salt there in the finish too. And in the mids as well. Kind of mixed in with that sourness. It's almost a honeyed aspect to that sweetness there. There's a bit of a yeast to it too, obviously. Almost that sort of, and this mixing. But this is kind of difficult to unpack. There's a certain herbal taste on the tongue too, in the finish. It's from the coriander. Not a very. Sometimes coriander just sort of leaves a soapy taste to me, which I don't find too unpleasant. This one doesn't. It's just a nice little, very subtle herbal note. It's also briefly there in the mid palate, up in the nose. The yeast sort of plays around on the tongue. It doesn't really, you have a sort of yeasty taste, but it doesn't have that sort of effervescent note that you would sometimes get from, say, other wheat beers, or especially the Belgian wheat styles. There's just a lot of interplay there. I'm really liking that. Also, too, this is just very completely different from any other beer you're really going to drink. The entire baseline is different, other than the fact that, yes, this is a cool, carbonated, refreshing beverage. More of the malts are showing up as it warms up a bit. More of the malts are showing up in the finish. The saltiness is kind of making itself known in the long finish on the tongue there. Again, not very strong saltiness. It's a lot of interplay with that, lactic tartness. Some people have complained about the lack of carbonation what this has. I'm not seeing it. This is plenty carbonated for me. That may be due to the fact that with, live bottling, sometimes you're going to get different levels of carbonation depending on how it was stored. If something's too hot, too cold, the yeast inside won't do their business right. Just an interplay of sweetness, saltiness, sourness. It's a really nice thing. It's a good thing, as Martha Stewart would say. So, what can I say regarding Ritterguts Gose? Well, the only criticism I have is that I was going to save the bottle, like I said from the beginning, but it looks like the condensation has caused it to come right off. How unfortunate. I don't know. I think I'm going to go and rubber cement this to a book or something. What do you think? Pretty nice, huh? Yeah, that's a ticket. So, do I recommend you go and get this? Well, if you're looking for something completely different, completely out of what your baseline idea of what beer is, yeah, that's the Gose style for you. It's a style I love. Lightness. It has two things I love. Bigness of flavor, depth of flavor, and lightness of alcohol content. You know me, I love sessionable beers. 4.2, this is very sessionable. I'm not feeling overwhelmed. Probably the salt in it probably keeps you from having a hangover, even if by some weird reason you're able to go and drink enough of this to go and get that drunk. Am I going to buy this again? Almost certainly. This is an excellent beer. This goes into a 2 thumbs up category for me, partially because, I love this style, and this is, the quintessence of the style. And even if I didn't like the style, wow, there's a lot going on there, a lot of depth, a lot of complexity. It totally belies the low ABV. You don't have to go and make something that's 10% alcohol to have an interesting, well-crafted, delicious beer. And that's the lesson that the Gose style has to teach us. It's not as big and booming with that tartness as American Goses are. That's okay. Your taste buds do not need to be annihilated every single time you drink beer. Find nuance. Find, all those nice things. That's my opinion anyway. And I'm sticking to it. So, Ritterguts Gose. I hope you find it. If you do, enjoy it. Prost!